Welcome to Whispers in the Corridors. Today we have with us Ajeenkya Patil, a significant figure from the Indian education and economics, leading D.Y. Patil Group and serving as the president of Ajeenkya D.Y. Patil University. He is not just an educator, but a visionary shaping the future of learning. Thank you for joining us today. Starting off, tell us something about your journey and experiences that have shaped your leadership at the education industry.
I think to talk about my own journey is a little difficult, but I started at a very young age. So I started by shadowing my father from the school days. Post school, I used to go with him, look at what he does, observe what he does, and that's how I really learned. Education came a little late, of course, did my business management, did a PhD, but most of the learning was done practically by observing people. So it was through effective observation of my father, his techniques, and a number of successful people. So I started at a very young age because I always had this inclination of doing something for the greater good, and started off by setting up some computer labs, helping him at work in colleges, institutions. So uh, pretty much started off. Didn't It was not a planned journey. It was an unplanned journey, but that's how I really started. Yeah.
That's very insightful. Keeping in mind your experience, what are your views on the Indian education system and what is the biggest challenge it faces?
So I think that's also a vast topic to discuss. Personally, I believe that we were ingrained in the Macaulay system of education, which a lot of people are now aware of. Because when the British came, they sort of completely changed the system of education and they ingrained us in this Western form of education, which I wouldn't say was bad, but what it did is it parked away the knowledge systems of what existed pre-independence. And also through the invasions, we lost a lot of cultural history, heritage, and the way we used to live our lives. And I personally believe that education is not just about a degree, but it's about living in harmony with nature, trying to understand what people around you are, what the world around you are. It's just not about corporate excellence or success in terms of profitability of creation of wealth, but overall well-being of humanity. And that's how the Indian culture was ingrained. So, not necessarily completely linked to education, but we had a system of a Guru Shishya Parampara, which taught us great values. It had great benefits, and also there is a lot of deep ingrained knowledge in those ancient systems, which need to be researched, which need to come out into the open, and more impetus should be given on this. Of course, with the new education policy now, things are shifting because a lot of these subjects are being added to the existing syllabuses. So emphasis on languages, emphasis on well-being, health, even the study of the scriptures, because there is a lot of knowledge in these systems. So I feel education should be an amalgamation of the best of the East and the West. There's no particular system that is the best. We need to observe the best practices. Some systems have worked very well in the West, so we need to take those systems. Because of those systems, we were able to create success stories overseas. And I think that system has worked greatly. But at the same time, we bypassed our traditional Indian system quite a bit. So a revival of that system is very important, not only in terms of our own living, but also for expatriates to come to Bharat, because there is great benefit that they can derive from these ancient Vedic scriptures.
Speaking of evolving needs, the student needs have been evolved over time. So, how do you think the universities should prepare students for this rapidly changing dynamics of technology and businesses?
So again, I think we are at a very interesting time in history
Yeah.
because Industry 4 is here, the tech revolution is here, and we are evolving so dynamically and rapidly that it's becoming very difficult to predict what the future will be. But certainly the job dynamics are changing. The jobs of yesterday are irrelevant, and the jobs of tomorrow will be very different. So usually with any change, there is always a discussion that there'll be job losses, there'll be job changes. So with AI, VR, and the technological revolution coming in, I think we need to prepare our students for the future that it's a dynamic world. That one particular skill is not going to make you grow all your life. You need to be very dynamic in terms of the environment that you are in, because it's constantly changing. So you need to adapt to that change. So education will also need to evolve accordingly. So as a university, we would guide them in terms of how you would survive in this evolving world. Give them the skills that are required for the coming revolution. Or it's already here. I wouldn't even say coming revolution. It's already here. But say you graduate in a particular field, and after 2 years the field evolves. So their skills need to be constantly upgraded.
So students need to be more collaborative in the future.
I think they need to understand that it's evolving. So they have to have an open mind. So it's not that I'm going to do this particular thing. If you would have asked me this question 15 years ago, then I would say, yeah, this is your mission, this is your vision, this is your goal, this is your objective, and you need to do it. But today times have changed. You could do something for 2 years, then again switch sort of your profession and go to something else. But you need to be equipped with those skills. So I always talk about this T-shaped individuals, wherein the bottom of the T is your basic understanding of that subject. So it could be a business management degree, which would be the bottom of the T. And the top of the T would be, you would know marketing, you would know human resources, you would know finance, you would know the different aspects of the corporation. So, because what happens if you're an expert in a particular field, then you only focus on that particular field and you don't worry about the field that is next to you.
So education is the backbone of any country. What do you think the social responsibility of the universities or the schools are?
Okay, so I think education does play a critical role in any developing nation or a developed nation as well. So I think we should learn from the mistakes of the West, because in many of the developed nations they've saturated their resources in terms of even intellectual skills. So we have a great opportunity to capitalize on our educational system, and the backbone, the development of a country can only happen if its mass is educated. So more and more people have to be educated, more and more people have to be literate, and the skill sets have to be upgraded, because not everyone can be an engineer, not everyone can be a doctor, but there are many other skill sets. So the other jobs that are not so much in focus, I would say a lot of impetus is now again giving on skills management, like carpenters, plumbers, electricians. These are also low hanging fruits. So if we empowered people with that kind of education itself, that would be a great employment generation opportunity for a nation. And to develop a great Bharat, I think we need a spectrum of sort of resources. It's just not a particular sector that needs to be empowered. So maybe we just don't focus on degrees or a particular sector like engineers or one aspect, but a whole spectrum, because a huge workforce will also be required. Also, we have a issue of population, whereas we call it that it's a blessing because we have number of people that can empower the world, because workforces around the world are depleting. But it can also be a problem, because with the growth of population, we need to create adequate employment. And employment can't be created unless there's a complete participation of all stakeholders, which include the government, which include the corporation, which include the universities, and everyone should have a common vision and common objective. So it's again a collaboration of many thoughts, many resources, and education is of course at the core of it, because without an educated workforce or talented workforce, let me rephrase that, they have to have the required skills and talent to drive the economic engine. And whenever a nation is developing, there's extreme patriotism, there's immense zeal to reach those levels. But that zeal and that enthusiasm should continue over a period of time. Because once you're developed, then a sort of a complacency sets in, a lethargy sets in, that we are a great nation and we are now developed and we have sort of conquered the world. But I think that's when you need to be even more sort of empathetic about that, how to maintain this consistency. So to fuel growth, it's again a combination. So it's the thought process. So to create good leaders, to create a good talent coming out of this university. So innovation will be given a lot of impetus. We are also we are lagging behind in research.
Yeah.
Development is of course a very different part. Of course, in terms of unicorns and startups, after America and China, we are now forging ahead. But those numbers have to go up quite a bit. So the spirit of entrepreneurship, setting up these ventures, and of course, building a IP is very important because any developed nation has come out with inventions. So the inventions that need to come out of our country also have to be fueled. So, and this can happen only through industry and government participation. Universities can act as catalysts, but universities have limited funding in terms of innovation and growth. So I think the participation of governments and industry is would be a game changer. We've historically seen it in the United States, we've seen it in the West, and real development in these universities will come only with the participation of the industry.
Reflecting on the significant milestones of your university, what aspects of the growth bring you the most satisfaction and what is your vision for the future?
Okay. So I don't think I'm satisfied as such because it's a continual process. The word शिक्षण का अर्थ ही यही होता है हर क्षण सीखना means learn करना to learn every moment. That is the actual translation of शिक्षण. So if you feel that something gives you satisfaction in terms of performance, then you probably fulfilled all your desires and aspects. But this is a sector which is continually evolving, and I think what we've done till now is good. I wouldn't say that we've achieved what we set out to, because the objective was always to provide education to a vast segment of the nation at a very affordable cost. So cost becomes an issue because the resources required to set up educational institutes are immense, and these resources can only be supplemented by way of tuition fees to the student. So again, for Bharat, where many people are deprived of education because either the facilities are not there or they don't have access to financial resources, they're deprived of a good education. So my vision, of course, would be at some point that education gets democratized, where people have access to quality education at a low cost. It's a contradictory statement in terms of maybe a decade ago. But today with technology, we are empowered to do that because technology can reach every part of Bharat, it can reach every part of the globe. So even the deprived people of different parts of the planet can have access to Indian education. So building our IP, taking our education to the world and making it available to all is a big part of my personal dream, my personal vision. So I'll try my best. I still have a good, solid future ahead of me. So we'll try and do our best and hopefully achieve what we set out to. But it's a continuous process. I feel life is a journey. You can't have a milestone that I will stop here and then after that point I'll do this. So it's a continuous process.
Thank you for your insights. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Thank you.